The thing that resonates with me, the thing that resonates the most with me is that he admits to a hierarchy. That's the thing that
dominance hierarchies.
Dominance hierarchies, but he says they're just everywhere, right? So it could be in a friendship, it can be in a relationship, it can be at your company. It could
Who's
be
dominant amongst me and you?
I mean,
I've been putting a lot of power moves on you.
You have. I don't know. Maybe we're not.
I'm gonna cry.
I don't know if we have any dominance though. I mean, maybe that's a good thing.
I'm somewhat dominant. Okay.
No, you're stupid. No,
you're stupid.
But we have a mutual Korean friend, and clearly we are above him, or I don't know how to say it.
Or who?
I don't want to say his name, but the one Korean guy that we've hung out the most who speaks English perfectly and now lives in another country.
Okay.
And you know what I'm talking about, right? But it's not just that; it's just that he admits to a hierarchy. And I think in Korea they admit to a hierarchy. It's open. So when if they saw him talk about it, they'd be like, yeah, no shit, dumbass.
And I think that's a good thing about Korea. Actually, is they admit it.
Right. So
they're like, okay, we pretend we don't have it, but then everyone takes out their phones, and you're friends who meet after a few years or something from high school, and you go for a lunch. One guy takes out a shitty Android.
Yeah.
And then another guy takes out an iPhone.
Right.
And then the next guy doesn't take out anything. and he's like, oh, my assistant. My assistant takes care. My assistant does everything. And it's like this, you have this. And then another guy, which is a kind of a key element of Western culture, is he won't have a phone at all.
No,
he won't be wearing shoes either.
I work at Google, so I know phones are bad for you.
Yeah.
So he just doubles down on it.
It's the status of no status. It's the status of I'm outside of it and I'm better than all of you because I don't play the game.
That is the most Western dominant move ever.
Yeah.
I'm not even playing this game with you.
Yeah.
The game we all pretend doesn't exist. Yeah. I'm not even in that game. I guess if you guys do that, that's childish or whatever. But I mean, there's so much stuff that Korean people are way more real about.
Don't wear shoes.
Don't wear shoes.
They're way more real about. Yeah, they admit masculinity and femininity is a very admitted to thing here.
One of the
gender roles are a very admitted to thing, not that they are good or bad.
We're dancing on dangerous ice, but I'm gonna do it anyway. But one thing, growing up in the 90s, the feminist wave in the 90s was supposed to be everyone is exactly the same, men and women, every single way except strength. That's the only thing. And then
physical strength. Yeah.
Physical strength. That's it. Like your body. Men are a little taller and a little stronger. And then you're walking along and you just buy into it. And then I think the thing that clicked with me with this recent group of guys is actually there can be some
There's a lot of differences.
But you have to keep pressing. It's on average, right? Because there's a bunch of women who there's a lot.
We're getting into Jordan Peterson territory.
But it is Jordan Peterson territory. This is the part that I believe in more than anything, which is when you look at averages, all the murderers are men.
Yeah.
That's just Sam Harris brings up this example.
Well, not even okay, go ahead.
Sam Harris brings up this example, which is, okay, so what if you have this information, but you're trying to be fair about it?
Yeah.
And then you find out, and there's no study I think that said this, but you find out that on average, men tend to, I don't know how to say it nicely, sexually harass children more than women.
Yeah.
And then you're looking.
Most pedophiles are men.
Right, pedophiles, right? So
but they don't only sexually harass children, though. Men sexually harass all things more than women.
Okay, but I'm just trying to make this example, which is, okay, you're a parent, and you have a woman and you have a man, and you just know on average men tend to do this way more than women.
Yeah.
Are you supposed to be well, I'm fair, so I'm going to go with the man instead of the woman? You're going to be no, it's my kid. Time for me to be not PC about shit, and I don't think you're in the wrong for doing it.
Well, I think the point that it's good to focus on the differences more from a point of view of men are both have positive differences and negative differences. Jordan Peterson focused on the fact that men self-select into more higher paying roles, typically engineering and these things, and women self-select into other types of roles. But also I've watched Aziz Ansari's stand-up special recently, and he does a great bit where he gets the whole room, he asks all the women in this huge concert hall, put up your hand if you've ever been followed by a strange man that you don't know. And nearly every woman puts up their hand. And then he does the same for men, and nobody puts up their hand. And it's so there's a difference there in terms of how men are driven, and then towards
but I mean, that's the shit we almost didn't want to admit in the 90s feminist wave, which was that, for better or for worse, men and women are largely living in different worlds. Yeah. To some degree, especially when it comes to like being followed or not. I made my first video that broke away was the one about how safe Korea is, and there's all these women who get on. It's like, not for women. And it's like, well, still, it's much safer to be a woman in Korea than it is to be like in a lot of other countries.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't want to name especially third world countries, but like.
You can't say third world anymore.
What do I call them? Developing countries?
Developing countries,
yeah. Oh, I'm so bad at it, but what do you want me to do? Okay, but now we're getting into the intention-action dilemma.
Okay.
So you come up to somebody and you know they're not a racist, but they accidentally say the word third world country instead of developing country. You go, gotcha. I know you're not a racist, but you used the wrong word, so now I got you and you are a racist. And nobody cares about the actual thoughts in your head. They only care about the thing they can get you on.
Yeah.
And that is just the worst thing ever. And you just have these people who are smart and can say smart things, but they can't say anything. So they're not like sharing information. They're not speaking how they should be allowed to. And people don't care about what they really are. They just care about what they look like. And
damn PC.
What's
PC
that?
Culture, man.
It is PC culture, and it's.
Well, I think who was it that gave the good example of that? It was like Sam Harris or someone, where it's like if you were walking and you bump into someone by accident, and then you kind of say sorry to them. Like if they just took it on face value that you had just hit them,
right?
And like, oh, you assaulted me because you bumped into me, and it didn't care. Like the intention, like clearly is that they didn't hit you or assault you,
right.
But when it comes to certain words or certain attitudes, or particularly I think like trigger words or whatever it may be, you say them, but your intention is more obviously not nefarious, then you can still be called out. Yeah, I think.
Okay.